everybody, and welcome back to Mr. Smith's YouTube channel. So today I'm going to be starting a series about Java. Basically, we are back in school and we've started learning in the classroom, but I want to make a few support videos for you to watch at home so that you can, remediate the stuff that we have talked about in the classroom. And for some of y'all, this might just be some enrichment. All right, so our first unit this year was Java Basics. Very first thing we did was we downloaded Netbeans. All right, so Netbeans is a IDE. All right, and in an IDE is where we program. So inside of Netbeans, the Java JDK is installed. And in class, we talked about how the JDK has 3 parts. All right, the Java Development Kit is made up of 3 different things. The first one is your compiler, the second one's the interpreter, and the third one is the debugger. All right, so those 3 things are what makes up Java and allows us to use Netbeans to actually compile and run programs. All right, so on our first day, we did Hello World. So I'm going to quickly do that just to kind of review. All right, so to start a project in Netbeans, you go up here to the top left. All right, and in the top left, you see this little orange box, gold box with a green plus. We click that. So basically, we're telling it, all right, I want to make a new project. All right, so then you go in here and you make sure Java and Java application are checked. All right, and then we click next. All right, so this is where it gets a little bit different. All right, so depending on what we're going to do, the setup for these might change. All right, so if we're just running an application, we're going to leave this create main method class checked. All right, so applications have a main method, and that's what's used to actually run the program. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to call this Hello World YouTube, all right, because I'm making a YouTube video and it's Hello World. So again, I'm going to leave main method checked because we're doing an application. All right, and then I'm going to click finish. So at this point, it auto-generates some code for me. All right, so Netbeans always puts these comments in. You got your author tag to know who wrote the code. So I'm going to remove that. I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to remove this comment here. But before I remove it, I want to talk about it. It says to do. Code application logic here. All right, so this is where we put the logic of our code. If you think about it as a recipe, right? You're at home, you're cooking, and let's say you're making some biscuits. So you need your flour, your eggs, etc. In the recipe is a list of a procedure, all right? So step-by-step process to create those biscuits. That's what goes here in our main method. So if you want to think about it as this is where our recipe for our program goes, all right? That's inside of the main method. All right, so we also talked about this thing called scope. Scope is what's between the brackets. So the class, the public class, has a scope between these brackets. The main method has a scope between these brackets. So Hello World can see the main method, but the main method cannot see the class. All right, so scope is all about the brackets. So that means what? Brackets are very, very important when you're doing Java. All right, so let's go ahead and write our first program. And what we're going to do is we're just going to do a printout statement that says Hello World. All right, so think about it as you're creating your first program, and you want this program to say hello to the entire world. All right, whenever you do a tutorial or a class, whatever language you're learning, whether it's C++, C Sharp, any of that, the first program you're going to do is Hello World. All right, so in Java, the way that we print things is we say system.out.print, and then we say Hello World. I like putting 3 exclamation points, and then we end with a semicolon. So not every line in Java ends with a semicolon. You're just going to have to get used to which ones do. All right, but print statements do end in a semicolon. All right, so system is a call to the system. Then we're saying .out, which is saying we're outputting, and then we're using a method called print, and we're just going to print Hello World. All right, so how do I run this? Well, I go up here to the top, and I've got this green play button. Not sure if any of y'all know what a VCR is, but you probably know a DVD player or a Roku, right? The play pause button. But this green little play button is how we run our program. So when I click that, you will see that down here, I get some feedback and it says, hello world. All right, so this is our output. So this print statement is actually outputting to the console, and this is the console. All right, so let's do another one. Maybe we'll say, my name is Mr. Smith. All right, pretty cool print statement. So I'm going to click that. Okay, it did what I wanted. Hello world, my name is Mr. Smith. But what if I want these on separate lines? All right, so there are two, well, there are multiple actually, but there are two types of print statements that we're learning right now. The first one is just plain old print. And what that does is it prints on the line and then it's done. All right, prints on the line and then is done. All right, then we have the next print statement, and it also prints on the line and is done. All right, so our second type of print is print ln. All right, this is an L, not a 1. Print ln for print line. And what print line does, if I run this just to see what it does, it actually prints on the line and then returns to the next line. All right, and then we have a print, so it just prints on the line and then stops. So that's the reason why build successful is on the same line. So let me add another one. I love me some Java. All right, no, that's nerdy, but we're gonna roll with it. All right, semicolon. So I run this. Okay, again, right? So hello world, but it's a print line. So it goes down to the next line. My name is Mr. Smith. That's a normal print, so it doesn't return to the next line. Then you have I love me some Java. All right, so to fix this, I need to add ln, and I'm gonna go ahead and add a ln here. All right, so when I do that, now I get all three of them on separate lines. All right, so on day one, we talked about print statements, we talked about print line and the difference between them. All right, so after that, we started talking about variables. All right, so I'm going to start a new program here, and I'm going to call it variables YouTube. All right, so quickly, right? Quickly, I use the little gold square with the green plus, and variables YouTube. All right, delete my comments. All right, so what we talked about is we talked about that in Java, there are these things called primitive types. All right, and these primitive types are, number one, you have an int. Actually, so there are two types of comments in Java. The first one is //, and the second one is /* and then /*. And what that allows you to do is use like a paragraph form. All right, so primitive type number one is an int, all right, which stands for integer. So how about I do this? Int is an integer, which is whole numbers. All right, so anytime in Java you want to use whole numbers, you're going to use an int. All right, second thing, double. All right, double is a double, and these are your decimal numbers. All right, next one is float. It's just a float. This is also decimal numbers, but not as big. All right, so floats, doubles can be bigger than floats, so you can go to really large decimal numbers. All right, we will not use float a whole lot. We're mainly going to use integer and double when we're dealing with numbers. All right, another one, another primitive type is Bullion. This is your true or false. So things that hold a true or false value are booleans. All right. Another one is char, which think about it as character. So char is symbolized by a single quote and then an ASCII character. So it can be a number, it can be a letter, it can be a symbol. But as long as it has quotes around it, then we consider it a char. All right. So we have int, double, boolean, char, float. We also have short. So short is like float. You're not going to use it a whole lot, but it's for small, precise numbers. We have byte. We're not going to use it a whole lot. But these are going to be the main ones that we focus on. We also have what's called reference types. And for now, there's only one that I want you to know. All right, so the reference type I want you to know is called a string. All right, and a string is a series of literals. All right, that's the textbook definition, a series of literals. All right, so for example, hello, my name, or actually we did hello world, right? So when we just did hello world, that is an example of a string. All right, notice that chars have single quotes. Strings have double quotes. All right. So let's actually make some variables. All right. So I'm going to take these. These are my notes. I'm actually going to copy those. And I'm going to go up here and just kind of put them at the top. All right. Put them at the top so they're just up here at the top of my program. Because what goes here, right? This is the recipe for the program. So this is where my instructions go. All right, so when you're making when you make variables, there's two parts to it. All right, the first part is the declaration. All right, declaration of variables. And that's where you put the type plus variable name. Type plus variable name. All right, so declaration, for instance, if I was going to make an int for my age, int Smith's age. That is declaring a variable. I declared a variable. All right, initializing a variable, initializing of variables is assigning a value. All right, so for instance, if I say Smith's age is equal to 32, I have now initialized that variable. All right, so we have declaration and we have initialization. All right, so let's practice it with something else. Let's say, let's do a string, right? Let's do a reference type. So string, favorite movie maybe, is equal to, all right, so this is a declaration. What's cool is you can declare and initialize at the same time. So I have now declared my variable. But if I go ahead and do the equals and say The Departed, well, now I have declared and I have also initialized. All right, so you can do them both at the same time. All right, so let's do a double. Double, what's a good one? How about, what's a good decimal number? Smith's bank account? Oh my God. So, you know, payday was recently, so I got probably a couple $1,000 maybe. All right, so I initialized a value to my own bank account, all right? So these are just examples of how you can take variables and declare them based off their type and then initialize them with whatever that type is. All right, so for a double, we used a decimal, an integer, we used a whole number, and then with a string, we used a series of literals. All right, I'll go ahead and show you a Bullion. Bullion, so Smith has a beard, right? Maybe that's my Bullion. All right, and that'll be equal to true because, well, I've got a beard. All right, what about a char? Smith's favorite letter, maybe? I don't know. Really grasping at straws today. Maybe my favorite letter is J, all right? And that's how I would declare and initialize a char, all right? So these are just some very basic things about variables. Finally, the last thing I want to show you is this thing called concatenation. Concatenation. All right, so at the beginning of this video, we did print statements. So system out.out.print line. I'm going to do print line. What does print line do? Yeah, it prints it out and then it returns it to the next line. All right, so maybe I want to say Smith, I want to print out my age, Smith's age, right? So if I run this, it'll print Smith's age. Good? So if I go back in here, and I could say Smith's age, I could say Smith's age 32. Like I could put that value in, all right? But what if my age is gonna change, right? Next year I'm gonna be 33. And maybe in my program it self-updates from a database or something. So I need this number to be able to change. Right now it is a string, so it is finite. It's not dynamic, it is not changing, all right? The way that we can do this is by using the variable I created called Smith's age. And the way that we attach a variable to a string is with concatenation. All right, so this is when you use the plus sign to put together a string and a variable. All right, so I said Smith's age plus Smith's age. So when I run this, Smith's age is 32. If I go up here and change this, you know, maybe in 15 years from now, I'm 47. I run it again, Smith's age is now 47. All right, so concatenation is the way that we can actually attach a variable in a print statement to a string. All right, so maybe I want to do this with everything. Go in here, do another one. Smith's favorite movie, right? Well, that probably changes. What if I see a really good movie? So I need to add it to my variable for that, which is just favorite movie. Cool. All right, then I come down here. Maybe I do another one for Smith's bank account. Woo. All right, plus Smith's bank account. That's my variable. All right, then I can run this. Now I've got all of those are printing out the way I want. All right, maybe I want to put a dollar sign in front of this $2,000 because it is a dollar. So I can go in here and in my string add a dollar sign before I print, and boom, dollar sign. All right, so that's just a little bit about kind of the first week and a half of class. We talked about what is Java, we talked about IDEs, we talked about the Java JDK, and then we went into print statements and variables and how it all works, all right? So I'm gonna make a few more videos just to kind of help y'all out. As always, feel free to leave comments of any videos that you would like to see, and please drop a like and subscribe. All right, thanks guys.